Captain Laura Bennett stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiant, Earth's first and only Dreadnought. The massive ship represented humanity's greatest achievement in space technology. Its hull gleamed under the distant starlight as it moved through the void, powered by engines that bent the rules of physics. "Status report," Bennett said, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. At 42, she had earned her command through years of service in the Earth Defense Force. Her short brown hair and steady gaze gave her an air of calm authority. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harrison looked up from his tactical station. "All systems. Normal, Captain. We're approaching the edge of mapped space." "Good. Maintain course and speed." Bennett stood and walked to the front of the bridge. The year was 2187, and humanity had finally ventured beyond their solar system. The Defiant's mission was to explore and establish diplomatic contact with any intelligent life they might find. Chief Engineer Samantha Price entered the bridge, datapad in hand. Her innovative designs had made the Defiant possible. "Captain, the new drive is performing better than expected. We're actually ahead of schedule." "That's the first good news I've heard all day," Bennett said with a small smile. The communications officer, Nicole Garcia, suddenly straightened in her chair. "Captain, I'm picking up strange signals. They don't match any known pattern." "Put it on speakers," Bennett ordered. The bridge filled with odd, rhythmic pulses that seemed to follow a pattern. Dr. Alan Morris, the ship's xenobiologist, rushed to Garcia's station. "This is definitely artificial. Someone made this." "Bennett, first, it seems we're not alone out here. Lieutenant Harrison, yellow alert. I want all sensors at maximum range." The crew moved with practiced efficiency as the ship's alert status changed. Bennett felt a mix of excitement and caution. First contact was always the most dangerous moment in space exploration. "Captain," Harrison called out, his voice tense. "Something just appeared on long-range sensors. It's big and it's moving fast." "Show me," Bennett said. The main screen shifted to show a sleek purple-black vessel approaching. It was unlike anything humans had ever built, with smooth curves and no visible propulsion system. "Where did it come from?" Bennett asked. "It just appeared, Captain," Harrison replied. 1 second nothing, then it was there. "Defensive posture, but no weapons active," Bennett ordered. "We don't want to appear hostile. Officer Garcia, broadcast our first contact message on all frequencies." Garcia nodded and began transmitting the carefully crafted message of peace that all Earth ships carried. The alien ship grew larger on the screen as it approached. It was at least twice the size of the Defiant, which was already the largest ship humans had ever built. "No response to our message," Garcia reported. Dr. Morris studied the readings from his station. "Their technology is far beyond ours, Captain. The energy readings are off the charts." Suddenly, the bridge lights flickered as a beam of energy swept over the ship. "They're scanning us," Price reported from engineering. "Very thorough scan. They're getting everything. Hull composition, power systems, weapons." Bennett frowned. "I don't like being examined without permission." Before she could say more, the view screen changed. A tall, thin being appeared. It had gray-blue skin, large black eyes, and no visible mouth. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in their minds. "Unauthorized vessel. You have entered hegemony space with restricted technology. Power down and prepare to be boarded." Bennett straightened her uniform. "This is Captain Laura Bennett of the Earth defense ship Defiant. We were unaware this space was claimed. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." The alien's eyes narrowed. "There are no diplomatic relations with primitive species possessing forbidden technology. Your surrender is not optional." Admiral Gregory Palmer had warned Bennett about this possibility. Some alien civilizations might view humanity as a threat rather than a potential ally. "We will not surrender this vessel," Bennett replied firmly, "but we will withdraw from your territory if you provide the boundaries." The alien made a gesture, and the communication ended. "They're powering weapons," Harrison reported. "Shields. Up," Bennett ordered. "Evasive maneuvers. Try to get us out of here without firing back." The Defiant rocked as energy beams struck its shields. Price's voice came over the comm system. "Shields holding at 90%, Captain. Their weapons are powerful, but our defenses are working. Return fire, minimal power," Bennett ordered. "Target their weapons only. I want to disable, not destroy." Harrison fired the Defiant's energy weapons. The blue beams struck the alien vessel, causing its shields to flare brightly. "Their shields are weakening," Harrison reported. But 3 more ships just appeared. "They're surrounding us." Bennett gripped the arms of her command chair. "All power to engines. Get us out of here any direction." The Defiant surged forward, trying to break through the forming blockade. 2 of the alien ships moved to intercept, firing continuously. "Shields at 65%, Price reported. "We can't take much more of this." "We need to show them we're not easy prey," Bennett decided. "Target the lead vessel's propulsion system. Full power." Harrison's fingers flew over his console. The Defiant's main cannon charged and fired a brilliant beam of concentrated energy. It cut through the alien ship's shields and struck its drive section. The alien vessel spun out of control, secondary explosions rippling along its hull. "The other ships are pulling back," Harrison said, surprise in his voice. "They didn't expect us to have teeth," Bennett said. "Garcia, broadcast again. Tell them we don't want to fight, but we'll defend ourselves." Before Garcia could send the message, the damaged alien ship exploded in a blinding flash. The shockwave hit the Defiant, throwing crew members from their stations. "What happened?" Bennett demanded once she'd picked herself up. "Some kind of chain reaction in their power core," Price reported. "Our shot must have hit something critical." The remaining alien ships kept their distance now, but more were appearing on sensors. "Captain," Morris said quietly, "I think we just made a very bad first impression on a very powerful civilization." Bennett nodded grimly. "Plot a course back to Earth space. Maximum speed. We need to warn Earth about what we found." As the Defiant turned and accelerated away, Bennett knew the universe had just become a much more dangerous place. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not with a handshake, but with an accidental show of force against a civilization that called itself the hegemony. The news would spread quickly through alien channels. A new species had arrived with technology they shouldn't possess, and they had destroyed a hegemony vessel. The calm exploration mission had turned into something much more serious. Bennett looked at the stars streaking past on the view screen. "Send a priority message to Admiral Palmer. Tell him we may have started a war." The EDS Defiant raced through space, its engines pushed to their limits. It had been 3 days since the clash with the hegemony patrol ships. Captain Laura Bennett had not left the bridge for more than a few hours at a time. "Any sign of pursuit?" she asked, rubbing her tired eyes. Lieutenant Commander Jack Harrison shook his head. "Nothing immediate, but long-range sensors show increased activity in the sector we left." Communications Officer Nicole Garcia turned from her station. "Captain, we're still being blocked. I can't get a clear signal to Earth." Bennett frowned. The Defiant needed to warn Earth about the hegemony threat, but something was jamming their long-range communications. "Chief Price, any luck with the communications boost?" Bennett called over the ship's intercom. In engineering, Samantha Price was elbow-deep in circuitry. "Working on it, Captain. Their jamming technology is like nothing I've seen before." Dr. Alan Morris entered the bridge, a data pad in his hand. "Captain, I've been studying what we know about the hegemony. Based on their ship design and the limited communication, I believe they're a multi-species alliance that controls a large portion of the galaxy." Bennett nodded. "That matches what we saw." "How advanced are they?" "Very," Morris replied. "But in strange ways. Some of their technology seems centuries ahead of ours, while other aspects are surprisingly similar." Lieutenant Ryan Cooper, a young officer who had been quietly documenting everything since first contact, looked up from his station. "It's like they developed along a completely different path than we did." "Or they stole their technology from others," Harrison suggested. Before anyone could respond, the ship shook violently. "Report," Bennett demanded, grabbing her chair for support. "We've hit some kind of barrier," Price replied from engineering. "It's not physical, more like a distortion in space itself." "Full stop," Bennett ordered. "Let's not damage ourselves on whatever this is." The Defiant slowed to a halt. On the main view screen, space looked normal, but the sensors told a different story. "It's all around us," Harrison reported. "Some kind of energy net. I think they've trapped us." Bennett's
mind raced.
They were cut off from Earth, unable to send warnings, and now trapped. She made a decision. All hands to battle stations. If they want this ship, they'll have to fight for it. The crew moved quickly, preparing for combat. Bennett knew they were outnumbered and probably outgunned, but the Defiant had surprised the hegemony once. Perhaps they could do it again. Multiple ships approaching, Harrison announced. Bigger than the patrol vessels we encountered before. Garcia's console lit up. We're being hailed. On screen, Bennett ordered. The view screen showed a different alien this time. This one had deep red skin and multiple eyes arranged in a circle around its head. When it spoke, its voice was deep and resonant. I am Grand Admiral Zach Vorn of the Galactic Hegemony. Your primitive vessel has caused quite a stir, human. Bennett stood tall. This primitive vessel defended itself when attacked. Without provocation. We had no intention of entering your territory. Vorn made a sound that might have been laughter. Yet here you are, with technology no newly spacefaring race should possess. The Hegemony Council is most interested in how you acquired it. We built it ourselves, Bennett replied firmly. Humans have always been good at innovation. Impossible, Vorn dismissed her claim. Your shield technology and propulsion systems match patterns the Hegemony has suppressed for thousands of years across hundreds of worlds. This new information surprised Bennett, but she didn't show it. I assure you, we developed these technologies independently. It matters not. Your ship will be taken and studied. Your crew will be questioned. The source of your forbidden knowledge will be discovered and eliminated. The alien's multiple eyes blinked in sequence. Surrender now, and your lives may be spared. Bennett glanced at her crew. They all showed the same determination she felt. I think you know my answer to that, Admiral. The communication ended abruptly. They're moving into attack formation, Harrison reported. 5 heavy cruisers, they're charging weapons. Bennett took her seat. Evasive pattern Delta. Target their lead ship's weapons. Fire when ready. The space around the Defiant lit up as multiple energy beams converged on the human ship. The shields flickered but held. Shields at 75%. Price reported from engineering. They're hitting us hard, but the upgrades are working. The Defiant returned fire, its main cannon striking the lead Hegemony cruiser. The alien ship's shields flared brightly but didn't fail. Their defenses are stronger than the patrol ships, Harrison noted grimly. Keep firing, Bennett ordered. Focus on one target at a time. The battle raged as the Defiant weaved through space, dodging some attacks while its shields absorbed others. The human ship fought valiantly, landing several good hits, but the Hegemony ships kept coming. Shields at 40%, Price reported, her voice strained. We've got damage on decks 3 through 5. Bennett knew they couldn't win this fight, not directly. Price, is the jump drive ready? There was a pause before the chief engineer responded. It's untested at these energy levels, Captain. We might tear ourselves apart. If we stay, we're definitely lost, Bennett replied. Prepare for emergency jump. As the Defiant continued to fight, Price and her team worked frantically to prepare the experimental jump drive. It was a last resort technology designed to move the ship instantaneously across vast distances. Captain, Garcia called out suddenly. I'm picking up a signal. It's faint, but it's in Earth encryption. Bennett's hopes rose. Can you clean it up? Garcia worked her controls. It's from Ambassador Daniel Mitchell. He says a diplomatic team was dispatched after we lost contact. They're at the edge of this system. The Hegemony will destroy them if they come any closer, Bennett realized. We need to warn them off. Harrison looked grim. The only way to do that is to break through this blockade. Bennett made her decision. Price, redirect power from weapons to the jump drive. We're going to make a run for it. But Captain, Harrison began. We can't win this fight, Bennett cut him off. But we can make sure Earth knows what's out here. Prepare for jump on my mark. The Defiant took more hits as its weapons went offline. The shields were failing, but Price had the jump drive almost ready. Target coordinates set for the diplomatic vessel's position, Harrison reported. Bennett took a deep breath. All hands. Brace for emergency jump 3, 2, 1, mark. The Defiant seemed to stretch for an instant, then vanished from the middle of the hegemony fleet. The alien ships fired at empty space, their commanders enraged by the escape. When the Defiant reappeared, alarms were blaring throughout the ship. Smoke filled several sections and the power was fluctuating. "Damage report," Bennett called out, picking herself up from the floor. "Jump drive is fried," Price reported. "Multiple hull breaches, but emergency fields are holding. Shields are down to 10%. "Where are we?" Bennett asked. Harrison checked his instruments. "Right where we aimed, Captain. I'm picking up the Earth diplomatic vessel. It's the Roosevelt." Bennett allowed herself a small smile. "Open a channel. Tell Ambassador Mitchell he's about to get a crash course in galactic politics." As the Roosevelt approached the damaged Defiant, Bennett knew this was just the beginning. The hegemony wouldn't stop until they had what they wanted. But now at least, Earth would know what they were facing. The Roosevelt and the damaged Defiant drifted in the shadow of a large asteroid. Repair teams worked on the outside of the Defiant's hull, fixing the worst of the damage from the battle with the hegemony fleet. Inside the Roosevelt's conference room, Captain Laura Bennett sat with Ambassador Daniel Mitchell and the commanders of both ships. Bennett had just finished explaining their encounters with the hegemony. "So these aliens believe we stole our technology?" Mitchell asked. He was a tall man with gray hair and a diplomatic manner that hid a sharp mind. "Not stole," Bennett corrected. "They claim we shouldn't have it at all. According to their Grand Admiral, this technology has been suppressed across hundreds of worlds." Mitchell frowned. "That suggests a policy of keeping other species from advancing." "Exactly," Bennett agreed. "And we somehow developed technology they've been trying to keep others from having." Science Officer Kelly Robinson, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Captain, while you were meeting with the ambassador, I've been analyzing the data we collected from the hegemony ships. There's something strange about their technology." "What do you mean?" Bennett asked. Robinson displayed some charts on the room's main screen. "Their energy signatures don't all match. It's like their ships use technology from different sources, cobbled together." Lieutenant Olivia Johnson, the Defiant's intelligence officer, nodded in agreement. "And I've been working on decoding their communications. The messages between ships use at least 3 different encryption methods, all layered on top of each other. It's messy, inefficient. Like they're using systems they didn't design themselves," Mitchell suggested. "That's our thinking," Johnson confirmed. Chief Engineer Samantha Price entered the conference room, her uniform stained with coolant fluid. "Captain, the jump drive is beyond repair with our current resources, but I have an idea." "Let's hear it," Bennett said. "There's a hegemony outpost about half a light year from here. It looks like some kind of archive or research station. If we could get inside, we might find information about their technology, maybe even replacement parts compatible with our systems." Bennett considered this. "That's risky." Major Frank Wilkins, commander of the Defiant's Marine Unit, leaned forward. "My team can handle it, Captain. We go in quiet, get what we need, and get out." After further discussion, Bennett approved the mission. The Roosevelt would remain hidden with the damaged Defiant, while a small team took a shuttle to the hegemony outpost. 12 hours later, Major Wilkins led a team of 6 Marines plus Science Officer Robinson, Lieutenant Johnson, and Engineer Price toward the hegemony station. Their shuttle had been modified to mask its energy signature, making it harder to detect. "Approaching target," Wilkins reported quietly as the station came into view. It was shaped like a giant wheel with spokes connecting to a central hub. "Their security seems minimal," Johnson observed. "Just a few patrol ships and basic sensors. They probably don't expect anyone to come looking," Robinson suggested. The shuttle docked at an unused maintenance port. The team wore environmental suits as they cut through the outer door and entered the station. Inside, they split into 3 groups. Wilkins and half the Marines would secure their escape route. Price and 2 Marines would look for technology they could use. Robinson, Johnson, and the remaining Marines would search for information. Robinson's team made their way to what looked like a control center. The room was empty of hegemony personnel. "Can you access their systems?" Robinson asked Johnson. Johnson studied the alien controls. "I think so. Their computer interfaces are surprisingly similar to ours. While Johnson worked, Robinson examined the room. The walls were covered with symbols and images that appeared to be some kind of historical record. "I think this is a timeline," Robinson said, tracing the symbols with her gloved finger. "Look, these images show different species all bowing to these 7 figures in the center." "The Hegemony Council," Johnson suggested, "the 7 ruling species." As Johnson accessed the station's database, her eyes widened. "Oh my God! You need to see this." Robinson moved to her side. On the screen was information about thousands of planets and species, all categorized and monitored. Next to each was a technology rating and status reports. "They're tracking every intelligent species in this part of the galaxy," Johnson said, "and limiting their development. Look at this one. Technology suppression successful. Civilization regressed to pre-spaceflight status after intervention." "They're keeping everyone down," Robinson realized. "But why?" Johnson dug deeper into the files. "Here's something about Earth. Anomalous development pattern, species bypassed expected technology tree. Investigation priority, highest." "They don't understand how we developed our technology," Robinson said, "because we did it differently than they expected." While they worked, Price's team discovered a storage area filled with technology components. "Some of these might work with our systems," Price reported over the comm. "We're gathering what we can." Robinson found another section of the database, heavily encrypted. "Help me with this," she told Johnson. Together they broke through the security measures. What they found stunned them. "The hegemony isn't the original power in the galaxy," Robinson breathed. "They were servants of another civilization, a much older one." The files showed how, thousands of years ago, the 7 species that now formed the hegemony had rebelled against their creators. They had overthrown them and taken control of their technology. They've been afraid ever since, Johnson realized. Afraid that someone else might do to them what they did to their masters. That's why they suppressed technology in other species, and that's why they're so afraid of us, Robinson added. "We developed technology they thought they had suppressed. To them, that's impossible. It makes us unpredictable." Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the station. "We've been detected," Wilkins reported over the comm. "Time to go." "Not yet," Robinson said. "We need to download this data. Earth needs to know what we're dealing with." As Johnson downloaded the files, Robinson discovered one last piece of information. There's more. The original civilization, the ones who came, before the hegemony, they left markers, seeds of their knowledge on certain worlds. "Earth?" Johnson asked. "Maybe. The file mentions potential legacy worlds where their knowledge might have influenced development." Robinson downloaded this information too. "We need to get this back to Earth." Their teams regrouped at the shuttle pursued by hegemony security forces. They escaped with weapons fire chasing them, but made it back to their ships with their precious cargo of information and technology. As the Roosevelt and the patched-up Defiant prepared to make a run for Earth space, Captain Bennett reviewed the information they had stolen. "This changes everything," she said to Ambassador Mitchell. "The hegemony isn't just afraid of us. They're afraid of what we represent. The possibility that they're not the rightful rulers of the galaxy after all." Mitchell nodded grimly. "And that makes them more dangerous than ever." The Roosevelt and the Defiant raced toward Earth, pushing their engines beyond safe limits. They were still 3 days from home, and hegemony ships were in pursuit. Captain Laura Bennett sat in her ready room aboard the Defiant, reviewing the data they had stolen from the hegemony archive. The more she read, the more concerned she became. Ambassador Mitchell entered the room. "Captain, we just received a message from Earth. President Julia Warren has called an emergency meeting of the world's leaders." Bennett nodded. "Good. They need to prepare. The hegemony won't stop with just our ships." "What do you think they'll do?" Mitchell asked. "Based on what we found in their archives, they've destroyed civilizations they considered threats before." Bennett replied grimly. "They might try the same with Earth." Lieutenant Commander Harrison's voice came over the intercom. Captain to the bridge, we have a situation. Bennett and Mitchell hurried to the bridge. On the main screen was an image of space ahead of them. It showed dozens of ships. Hegemony? Bennett asked. Harrison shook his head. I don't think so. The designs are different, and they're directly in our path to Earth. Communications Officer Garcia looked up from her station. Captain, we're being hailed by the lead ship. On screen, Bennett ordered. The view screen showed an alien unlike any they had seen before. It had golden skin and 4 arms. Its voice was translated through the computer. Earth vessels, I am Captain Zorix of the Free Worlds Alliance. We've been monitoring your confrontations with the hegemony. We wish to talk. Bennett exchanged glances with Mitchell. This is Captain Laura Bennett of the EDS Defiant. We're willing to talk, but we're also in a hurry. Hegemony forces are pursuing us. We know, Zorix replied. That's why we're here, to help. Within an hour, Bennett, Mitchell, and their senior officers were aboard Zorix's ship, meeting with representatives from a dozen different species. We are all victims of hegemony suppression, Zorix explained. For centuries, they have kept our civilizations from advancing, destroyed our colonies that grew too powerful and stolen our technologies. How have you managed to build these ships then? Chief Engineer Price asked, looking around the advanced vessel they were on. A small, blue-skinned alien stepped forward. In secret, small groups from many worlds working together, hidden from hegemony patrols. It has taken generations, but we've never had enough strength to openly challenge them, Zorix added. Until now. What changed? Bennett asked. You did, Zorix said simply. Your ship, your technology, the hegemony's response to your arrival has created chaos in their ranks, and then you broadcast the truth. Bennett looked confused. What broadcast? Science Officer Robinson spoke up. The data we downloaded from the archive station, it contained a virus. When we accessed it, it activated and sent the information across the entire hegemony network. Every suppressed world now knows the truth, Zorix said. The hegemony are not gods. They are usurpers who fear being overthrown just as they overthrew their masters. Ambassador Mitchell leaned forward. So what are you proposing? An alliance, Zorix replied. Your world has developed technology along paths the hegemony never expected. Combined with our numbers, we might finally break their control. Back on the Defiant, Bennett and her officers discussed the proposal. Can we trust them? Harrison asked. Their ships could have destroyed us easily if that was their plan, Price pointed out. Bennett made her decision. We'll work with them to get back to Earth. After that, it's up to President Warren and Earth's leaders. The combined fleet continued toward Earth, the Free World's ships providing protection for the Defiant and Roosevelt. But 3 days later, as they approached the edge of Earth's solar system, they encountered a massive hegemony fleet. 53 ships, Harrison reported, including 3 dreadnoughts bigger than anything we've seen before. On the main screen, the face of Grand Admiral Zach Vorn appeared. This ends now. The human homeworld will be cleansed of all advanced technology. Your species will be reset to a manageable level of development. Bennett stood from her chair. You have no right to decide the fate of our world. We have the power, Zach Vorn replied. That is all the right we need. As the communication ended, Fleet Commander Eric Phillips of Earth's Defense Forces contacted them. Captain Bennett, we've received your data transmissions. President Warren has ordered all our ships to defend Earth. We have 20 vessels ready. 20 against 53, Harrison muttered. 20 plus 17 from the free worlds, Bennett corrected. And we have something they don't expect. As the hegemony fleet approached, Bennett put her plan into action. The Earth ships, joined by the Free World's vessels, formed a defensive line. Broadcast on all frequencies, Bennett ordered Garcia. Make sure every ship in the hegemony fleet can hear this. Bennett stood tall as her message went out. This is Captain Laura Bennett, of Earth. To all hegemony vessels, we know the truth. We know you overthrew your masters. We know you fear the same happening to you. But we are not like you. We don't seek to control or suppress. We seek to learn and grow. Join us in creating a new future or face defeat today. Many of the hegemony ships hesitated. On several vessels, crew members who had heard the truth from the archive broadcast were questioning their orders. Grand Admiral Zaka Vorn, enraged, ordered his fleet to attack anyway. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire. Earth's ships, though fewer in number, fought with unexpected strength. The technology Bennett's crew had recovered from the hegemony outpost had been quickly adapted to improve their defenses. The Defiant, despite its damage, led a daring attack on Vorn's flagship. Bennett had discovered a weakness in hegemony Dreadnought design from the stolen data. Target their central power node, she ordered Harrison. Full power to main cannon. The Defiant's weapon struck the massive hegemony ship at precisely the right spot. Systems failed across the enemy vessel. In the midst of battle, a message came through that changed everything. On several hegemony ships, crews had mutinied against their commanders. They had heard the truth and refused to fight. The tide turned quickly after that. Within hours, the battle was over. Vorn's flagship was disabled, and many hegemony ships had surrendered or retreated. 1 month later, representatives from Earth, the Free Worlds Alliance, and even some former hegemony worlds met on Earth to form a new galactic council. President Warren spoke to the assembled delegates. Today marks a new beginning. Not an empire built on suppression and fear, but a cooperative of worlds sharing knowledge and respecting each other's rights to develop. Captain Bennett, standing among the honored guests, watched with pride. The Defiant's accidental crossing into hegemony space had changed the galaxy forever. As the new council members signed the first treaty, Bennett thought about how one ship and its crew had triggered a revolution that freed countless worlds from oppression. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of cooperation had begun. 6 months had passed since the battle for Earth and the formation of the Galactic Council. The EDS Defiant floated in the orbital shipyard, its repairs finally complete. Captain Laura Bennett stood at the viewport in the station lounge watching, as workers made final adjustments to her ship's hull. "She looks good as new," said a voice behind her. Bennett turned to see Fleet Commander Eric Phillips approaching with a steaming cup of coffee in each hand. He offered one to her. "Better than new," Bennett replied, accepting the coffee. "Chief Price says the upgrades have improved power efficiency by 30%. Phillips nodded. "The combination of our technology with what we learned from the hegemony and free worlds has pushed our development forward by decades." Bennett sipped her coffee. Much had changed in the 6 months since the hegemony fleet had been defeated. Earth had become a center for galactic cooperation, with representatives from over 30 former hegemony-controlled worlds now working together. "When do you leave?" Phillips asked. "Tomorrow morning," Bennett replied. "The Defiant will lead the expedition to the coordinates we found in the hegemony archives. If we're right, we might find one of the original creator worlds." The data they had stolen from the hegemony archive had contained references to worlds where the creators, the civilization that had preceded the hegemony, might have left behind their knowledge and technology. Bennett's comlink beeped. "Captain, Ambassador Mitchell has arrived with the council representatives," Lieutenant Commander Harrison reported. "Tell them I'll be right there," Bennett responded. She finished her coffee and headed to the station's conference room. Inside, Ambassador Mitchell was speaking with 3 aliens, Zorix from the Free Worlds Alliance, a former hegemony scientist named Prelox, and Council Lord Thrix, a moderate who had helped negotiate peace with Earth. "Captain Bennett," Mitchell greeted her. "We were just discussing the expedition." "Is everything on schedule?" Bennett asked. Zorix nodded. "The combined fleet is ready. 3 ships from Earth, 2 from the Free Worlds, and 1 former hegemony vessel with Lord Thrix in command." Prelox, the scientist, activated a holographic display showing a star map. "Based on the archive data, we believe this system holds one of the creator artifacts. If we're right, it could contain knowledge that was hidden from the hegemony for millennia." Lord Thrix spoke up. His gray-blue skin wrinkled around his large eyes. "Many in the former hegemony fear this expedition. They believe some knowledge should remain buried." That kind of thinking is what led to the hegemony suppression policy in the first place, Bennett replied. We need to face our past to build a better future. The meeting continued for another hour as they reviewed the expedition plans. Afterward, Bennett returned to the Defiant for final preparations. On the bridge, her crew was running system checks. Science Officer Kelly Robinson looked up from her station. Captain, I've been studying the data on the Creator civilization. Something interesting. Their technology seems to have similarities to some of Earth's earliest scientific theories. What do you mean? Bennett asked. It's like they were thinking along the same lines we were thousands of years ago, Robinson explained. Some of their mathematical principles match concepts from ancient human civilizations. Lieutenant Olivia Johnson joined the conversation. The archive mentioned legacy worlds, planets where the creators might have left their mark. What if Earth was one of them? You think the creators visited Earth in our ancient past? Bennett asked. It would explain how we developed technology. In ways the hegemony didn't expect, Johnson suggested. We might have been unconsciously following paths they laid down long ago. The idea was both exciting and unsettling. If true, it meant humanity's greatest achievements might have been influenced by an ancient alien civilization. The next morning, the expedition fleet departed Earth. The Defiant led the way, followed by the other 5 ships. Their destination was a star system near the galactic core, 3 weeks' journey even with their advanced drive systems. During the journey, representatives from the different ships met regularly via holographic conference. Bennett was impressed by how quickly former enemies had become colleagues. Even Lord Thrix, once a hegemony leader, now worked alongside humans and Free Worlds members. We're approaching the target system, Harrison announced on the 22nd day of their journey. Bennett ordered the fleet to slow to sublight speed. The 6 ships emerged from faster-than-light travel into a system with a red giant star and 7 planets. Sensors detecting artificial structures on the 4th planet, Robinson reported. They're massive, continent-sized installations. Life signs? Bennett asked. None, Robinson replied. But there's energy readings. Something down there is still active after all this time. Bennett ordered the fleet to establish orbit around the 4th planet. Initial scans showed the structures were at least 50,000 years old, far older than the hegemony itself. A landing party was assembled, with representatives from each ship. Bennett would lead the human contingent, joined by Robinson, Johnson, and Chief Engineer Price. Their shuttles landed near what appeared to be the main entrance to one of the structures, a massive doorway set into a mountainside. The air was thin but breathable, the gravity slightly stronger than Earth's. As the team approached the entrance, symbols carved into the stone began to glow with a soft blue light. It's responding to our presence, Robinson said, scanning the symbols with her equipment. These match some of the creator language fragments from the archive. The massive door slowly opened, revealing a corridor that stretched deep into the mountain. Lights activated as they entered, illuminating a path forward. It's like it was waiting for someone to return, Price remarked. The team ventured deeper into the structure. They found rooms filled with technology beyond even their understanding, machines that seemed to manipulate space and time itself. In the central chamber, they discovered what they had been searching for, a vast database still operational after 50 millennia. This is it, Robinson said in awe. The knowledge of the creators. As Bennett approached the central console, a holographic figure appeared, a kaita, tall, slender being with features that seemed oddly familiar. Welcome, descendants, the figure said in a voice that somehow everyone could understand. You have found your way back to the beginning. Bennett stepped forward. Who are you? I am an echo, a recording left for those who would eventually return, the figure replied. My civilization seeded the galaxy with life, guided its evolution, and shared our knowledge with promising species. Including humanity? Bennett asked. The figure seemed to smile. Your world was special to us. We saw great potential there. And the hegemony? Thrix asked. Were they your chosen successors? They were students who misunderstood the lesson, the figure said sadly. They took our gifts and use them to control rather than uplift. But now a new path begins. The hologram gestured and the chamber filled with light as knowledge began to flow into their devices. Cures for diseases, clean energy sources, and technologies beyond imagination. Use this wisdom wisely, the figure said as it began to fade. Create the future we hope to see. As the team returned to their ships with the first fragments of the Creator's knowledge, Bennett knew the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had not only broken free from hegemony control, but had helped usher in a new age of discovery. The journey that had begun with the Defiant accidentally crossing into hegemony space had led to humanity's true place among the stars. Not as conquerors or subjects, but as explorers and innovators carrying forward the legacy of those who had come before.